Welcome to Player Prop Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you player prop tips. I'm your host, Professor Sides, and in this episode of Major League Baseball props, I'll discuss 5 picks that I think make for good bets for games scheduled to be played tonight, July 5th, 2023. Remember, if you're interested in full game projections of picks for every MLB game, sign up on Dub Club. That link's in the show description. Cost under $1 per day, and you'll receive money lines, run lines, totals, first 5, all sorts of goodies, and exclusive access to our Discord chat. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion on this show projects a typical game and is not trying to forecast it to a T, as it'd be a foolish and impossible goal, especially with regards to player props, right? We're not trying to come up with our magic 8-ball and say what will happen. What we're trying to do is say, in general, this is what we think will happen on average if this game were to happen a bunch of times. And so based off of that, the probability makes this a good pick at a certain price, at a certain number. One of these guys might have 1 strikeout or 10, right? You never know. Weird things do happen. But if we're making good picks at good prices in the long run, that will balance out. As I'm always saying, please understand, good and bad variance will occur. So while the long run profitability is proven, the winning every single day, unfortunately, is impossible reality for any gambler. Do remember here that Thrive Fantasy is an official partner of Picks with the Professor. Pick an entire lineup of players into a contest against one other person, 2 other people, a group of people, or simply choose between 2 and 5 props that you like and win if they all hit. New users that use the promo code SIDES or use the sign-up link in the show description will receive a 100% first deposit match of $250. So sign up today, take advantage of some free money. Also, new users get the opportunity to select kind of a freebie pick their first day. So take advantage of that if you have not already. Also be using Outlier.bet today, showing that I'm on screen and all the goodies that they have to offer. Another official partner of Picks with the Professor. Outlier integrates seamlessly with your favorite domestic sportsbook, allowing you to shop for the best prices while also seeing the latest trends and analyzing all relevant data. Sign up today at Outlier.bet/professor for a 7-day free trial to check them out. Without further ado, I will go ahead and flip on over there. And I just kind of wanted you to see what I was talking about here and how we're searching through this just to take advantage of what they've got over here. You can click one of these by game. It'll only show you their things. I've searched by outs and strikeouts. There are other pitcher props you can look at here, walks and runs and different things like that. Outs and strikeouts are the 2 that I like to focus on. I think they're the some of the more consistent. Walks are as well, but walks get into a tricky battle. And there's definitely some value here, but you really have to know what you're doing with walks. So it's an area I'm not going to talk about because I haven't spent the time to do it to be an expert in it. Walks are tricky because you need to pitch enough innings to have the opportunity to walk people, but not be so bad that you're going to walk people and get pulled, right? So walks is kind of a tricky one, but they got all sorts of stuff here. Hitter props as well. And you can see I've sorted by the line, so you can see the pitchers projected to go the longest based off of the sports books. You can sort here by which things have hit the most this season. Of course, some of these are small sample size percentages, so beware. Obviously, a guy like Marsh, I think, has only had 1 start this season, so he hit this number 1 time, right? But a lot of different ways you can search. Then, as I mentioned, you can click by game and see what's happening here per game as well. So a lot of great ways you can kind of find what you're looking for in Outlier if you're playing these player props. Cannot recommend it enough. I'm going to start off here with Eduardo Rodriguez over 4.5 strikeouts. According to Outlier, not a positive expected value play, which is a little surprising. He's hit this number 82% of the time here, only failed to hit it twice this season. And if you've seen the A's, they're not the best set of hitters, as we saw yesterday. I like his outs prop actually more than the strikeouts, but as of now, that hasn't been released. And so because that hasn't been released, I can't talk about it. I can't tell you what numbers are good, but I would not be surprised if he goes 7 innings here tonight in a home game. Pitchers pitch better at home than on the road. You can see he's hit 7 twice, 8 twice. And this Oakland offense just isn't very good. It should be a game where he can go a little bit deeper. You've also got the wind blowing in that's going to prevent him, hopefully, from giving up too many runs, allowing him to go deeper into the game. That makes the outs and the strikeouts both more likely to happen. I do like the outs, so check that out. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to 7 innings. Obviously, his total for outs is not going to be set that high, so do make sure you're trying to find good value value on that outs prop. But outs, I think, makes a lot of sense to go over on him given the weather. And just in general, he's been striking out a bunch of hitters. Pitching really well here this season. This will be his first start back from the IL. So that's kind of the big asterisk caveat that you have to talk about. So, of course, when I say I wouldn't be surprised if he goes 7 innings, I'm talking about a typical start. That's the biggest question mark here with him. I don't know at this point exactly what his pitch count will be. I do think that he should be able to get more innings per pitches than what would be expected because this Oakland offense is not very good and the wind blowing in. And the benefit, of course, as you can see, only having to get the 4.5 strikeouts is he's hit 5 strikeouts here on an outing that he went 5 2/3. He hit 5 strikeouts on an outing where he only went 5. He hit 5 strikeouts to start the season at 5 1/3. So it feels like this would be the first start of the season again. Where he was able to get into the 6th inning and get his 5 strikeouts. And that was against a really good Tampa Bay lineup. So I'm assuming he's going to go enough. I wouldn't think they'd bring him up if they were going to hold him to a pitch count of, 60 pitches, just because the Tigers aren't really in it and they don't really need those extra 3 innings. They would have just given him another rehab start, would have been my assumption. So that's with gambling. You never really know exactly what's going to happen. Obviously, information might come out after I've recorded this to change this. If we do learn his pitch count, potentially that affects it. But assuming that his pitch count is more in the 80 pitch range, I think he's going to be able to go deep. I would assume at least 6, again, maybe 7 with this Oakland lineup and the wind blowing in. That should set him up really well for a lot of strikeouts. And given the fact that he was able to do it his first start of the year, I think it's a good chance he can do it here today against Oakland. Mike Soroka for the Braves, another guy who hasn't pitched very much this season, only 3 outings here. First one back from the IL against Miami, 7 strikeouts in 6 innings, looked really good. I'm going over 3.5 at plus 131. I'm a little surprised that this is such big plus odds here. We're talking about a pitcher-friendly ballpark in Cleveland, so it's not like he's in a Cleveland offense. It's not a fantastic. It's not as if it's likely that he gets lit up. I really like what I saw from him last time out, and I don't really see Miami being drastically different from Cleveland. According to Outlier, a strong positive expected value play, and there's really not much more to say on it than that here, highlighting the 4.5% expected value. According to them, if you're using Kelly, 3.4% of your bankroll. Again, I always say with the Kelly stuff, I don't want to get into the weeds of that. If you understand it, you do it. If you don't, that's fine. This is just a strong pick, in my opinion, at these plus odds. I really think this should be more like minus 110. So anything at plus odds is a really good pick. I like him to have success here. I like the Braves tonight. And I part of the reason why I like the Braves is their offense is just so good. That's going to lead me to take the under on Cal Quantrill's strikeouts. I like the under on his outs prop as well. The issue is it's juiced even heavier than this. And so the issue with the juice here is not so much that big minus odds are bad in props. Again, that's not the message I'm trying to convey. The message I want to convey on this one is with the bigger minus odds, you have really high error bars on these player props because as I always mentioned, right, you don't have anyone that can help you. It's all about you versus a team. Someone else can kind of pick up your slack, and that makes it a little bit easier for us to predict what's going to happen because those extra wide error bars, the extra randomness in baseball. I want to have a higher threshold of likelihood to hit than if we're at big minus odds and if we're at big plus odds too, because the same thing happens as we get away from even money. You just increase the variability. So I do like his under outs. This Braves offense is really good. I think they can get to Quantrill. Quantrill has not looked good really this season. He wasn't great last year. Got lucky that the team provided him a lot of run support, but the underlying metrics suggested a little bit of a bounce back to average for him. The results were there, but it wasn't overly promising. Starting off this season, did kind of okay early on. But as you could see overall, not striking out a lot of hitters here. And this was, of course, his first start back against the Cubs, only went 3 1/3. In theory, you expect him to go longer than that today, but with this Braves offense, if they put up like 6 runs and he got run in the 4th inning, nobody would be shocked, right? And so anytime that sort of thing happens, it's going to be really unlikely that he strikes out a bunch of people. So I like this under on the strikeouts. He's very rarely gotten to this number, and he's facing a really good Braves team today that's going to make it harder for him to do that. This of late Cal Quantrill, and I know this, here's the IL stint, but this is more of what we were expecting from him. Some of these better starts here were just the right opportunities. And again, ups and downs for a pitcher. Last year was just all ups, and that was just great luck for him. But this year with the more ups and downs, we're kind of just seeing the fact that he's not a very good pitcher, and not very good pitchers against this Braves offense, probably not going to meet great fate. So I kind of like the under on the outs. It's just really juiced right now. So instead, I think under strikeouts makes a little more sense. Another under for you here in the same setup, John Gray, outs is juiced a little too high for my liking, but I like the under 4.5 strikeouts. I like the plus odds on this. This is probably slightly higher than 50-50 to hit, in my opinion. He's hit this. He's gone under 53% of the time this season. So we're getting some small value here in the plus 105. As you can see here, according to Outlier, a little over 1% positive expected value. Gray had a string of starts here where he was looking really good, striking out a ton of hitters, but he hasn't been right as of late here. Missed a start after this one, and you can see it after that really good complete game against the Cardinals. 12 strikeouts. I mean, a fantastic performance. Just not really as good since then. Coming off this stretch of, 7 innings, 8 innings, 5, 7, 7, 9. I mean, see how it correlates, right? It's a perfect stretch here of the one time he didn't go as deep was a 5-inning start, still had 6 strikeouts. So, this was a great 6-game stretch for Gray. I mentioned it last time, though, with Gray when he faced the Astros on the main show. I'm not sold that he's that good. I think he's more close to league average. This was a fantastic stretch, but when you combine that stretch with the stretch before, which is a bunch of 5-inning outings, right, and much lower on the strikeouts, when you average that together, you kind of get more in this 4 or 5 strikeout range, and that's what makes the plus odds appealing here. I wouldn't play under 4.5 at minus 130, but at plus odds, I think there's a better chance. I expect a lot of runs in this game. We've got a real hitter-friendly ballpark in Boston, pretty hitter-friendly weather here today. If the runs get crazy, it's just more likely he has one of these starts where he's only going 5 innings, maybe even less than 5, and that's going to make the under again on strikeouts. And again, the under on outs appealing. I'm just picking the strikeouts just because of the juice factor of what I'm seeing mostly for the outs. And then wrapping us up, let's get one more over here. Jose Berrios. I've been talking all season about him, that he's not as bad as he was last year. I like this over 4.5, minus 105. He's hit this 71% of the time. This is priced basically like last year. Last year, you could see he hit this half the time. A much stronger performance this year. Last year was some bad luck, almost the opposite of Quantrill, just all bad luck for him last year. This year, I think it actually started off bad luck for the first start or two, but for the most part since then, pitching really well. You can see, look at how many times he's hit this over on the strikeouts. For the most part, again, a couple of bad luck, struggled starts here, a 4 and a 5-inning outing. But other than that, a lot of 6s, a couple of 7s. Didn't do well against Miami here 3 outings ago, didn't hit his strikeout prop then. I'm expecting more than 4 innings from him tonight against the subpar White Sox offense. I really like this one. I mean, my favorite of the day here, given that Berrios, I still think is undervalued. I'm not really sure why, but he's a well above average pitcher at this point. Not as good as his best days, but not as bad as his worst. His worst days, he was below average. His best days, he was like, this guy might win a Cy Young one day, right? He's not that good, but he's still an above average pitcher, and you can see that again, for the most part, getting these 6 and 7 inning outings, and those correlate with about 6 or 7 strikeouts. And that's about what I expect from him here. I like the over 4.5 strikeouts, according to Outlier, a little over 3% positive expected value. 3.4% of your bankroll, 3.5% of your bankroll if you're using Kelly. I like this one a lot. My favorite player prop of the day, Jose Berrios. I think he's undervalued in this White Sox offense. I don't think is very good. And that's all I've got for you here today. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Player Prop Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can enjoy the sports betting content provided on this channel. It's dropped right into your feed. Be back again tomorrow with the main show, back with more props on Friday. But until I see you again, as always, best of luck. And remember, You can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.